I'm Yasmin Gagne.
I'm Josh Christensen.
And this is Most Innovative Companies Video Edition. So, Josh, were you ever a member of a gym?
I was a Planet Fitness member on and off for a little while.
So you never went aside from for the free pizza on Fridays?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. I never loved actually going to like a gym, like leaving my apartment and going to a gym. I used to go to a rock climbing gym quite a bit in my 20s when I was really into that. That was cool. They also had like some machines there, but it was mostly just like, rock walls. Rock gyms, the one with rocks.
Yeah, you're a white guy.
I'm a white guy. Yeah. But now I have a gym in my building, so now I go to that gym, which is great.
I wouldn't, the few times I've stayed in a building with a gym, I just it's too easy not to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Having to make a stop to a gym on the way home or on the way to work makes such a difference for me in terms of me going.
Oh, really? I thought you meant the opposite way.
Oh,
where
no, because I'll just
it's too easy not to go to the gym in your building.
Yeah, it's too easy to just be I'll do this tomorrow.
You need the appointment of it. See, I'm the complete opposite. Stopping somewhere, even if it's I'm at home, I walk my dogs. It also helps because a lot of the times when I have to go straight home to walk my dogs after work if I'm out or coming from the office. So I have to go home anyways. So the thought of going home.
No, going home is
walking
a kiss
the
of
dogs.
Death. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Sitting down after work, you will never make it to the gym. It's not going to happen.
No, that's a problem. Something I want to do, I want to be a morning workout person really bad because it'd be so much better for my schedule. I just can't do it.
You know what? The only thing that has made me a morning workout person, and it's so bad, and in fairness, since I got pregnant, I haven't really been able to work out, is money on the table.
Fair.
If I pay for a class, I will be there. Even if it's $5, even if it's a $5 yoga class, donation based, it's I will make it if I paid.
I never do classes. It's not my thing. I would do a personal trainer if I had the money to do a personal trainer.
Yeah, me too. That would be sick.
That would make such a huge difference for me. That would actually get me motivated. But for now, I'm just stuck with the voices in my head.
So the reason we're talking about gyms today is because we spoke to the CEO of luxury gym chain Equinox. Now, Equinox also has hotels and owns spin chain SoulCycle, and it faced really tough times during the pandemic. 5 years later, though, CEO Harvey Spevak says it has bounced back. The company is expanding nationally and globally, with more gyms opening up in new cities and more hotels planned in places like Saudi Arabia? We spoke to Spevak about doing business in Saudi, replacing Kiehls with Grown Alchemist, and what the future of fitness looks like. Here's that conversation. All right. Hey, Harvey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Yaz.
Before we talk about the business, what is your local Equinox club? Which one do you visit the most?
That's like asking which is your favorite child.
I am asking which is your favorite child.
I have twins, and I often joke about when I'm with one or the other. I tell them that you're my favorite, and then I tell the other one she's my favorite.
That's gonna give them. You're gonna be paying a lot of psychiatry bills down the line. But
probably so far it's worked out okay, but it's so probably at some point in time. I truly do not. I like so many of them for different reasons. I would say because my offices are at Hudson Yards. I do use the Equinox at Hudson Yards most frequently, but when I travel, which is frequent, I'm using, clubs in all our different markets as frequently as I can.
In the next couple of years, Equinox plans to open 40 new clubs, which is massive. What is driving this growth? Tell me about that strategy.
Yeah, so look, if you go back, we've always been a high growth company leading up to COVID, and COVID for a company like ours was pretty rough. You think about it, going back to March of 2020, and I understand you were a member back then, and March of 2020, and government shuts us down in all of our markets, and in some cases we were closed for 6 months. In LA, we were probably roughly closed for almost 2 years. And so, in March of 20, you go from high growth to zero revenue You've got, lots of locations. And so landlords want to get paid. We want to take care of employees who are the heart and soul of our brand and our business, which we did. And we did very, very well. We treated them, probably better than anybody, not just like in our category, but anywhere in hospitality, retail. We paid them for an extended period of time because we thought that was important. It was the right thing to do. And then we've been, for a long time in recovery mode. Mm-hmm. But the goal was, the way we thought about our strategy was to rebound the business and then get back to growth and transformation. And so this year will be...
How long would you say recovery mode took? Like, do you think it took basically the 5 years leading up till now, or?
Pretty much. I mean, I would say we were close to fully recovered, kind of the end of 24, but 25 will be a record year from a profitability perspective. And so we're back now to high growth from a financial perspective, which is great, which has emboldened us now to say, okay, it's time to grow and ultimately to transform. And so from a growth perspective, there's tremendous demand for the Equinox brand and the Equinox offering in existing markets, but also in lots of new markets. So over the last 12 months, we've built a pretty robust pipeline, like you've mentioned. That 40 locations is probably closer to 50 at this point.
Wow. Over
the next four or 5 years. We've opened a bunch of locations, including in new markets this year. So in December, we opened our first in Philadelphia, Rittenhouse Square, which is performing extremely well, better than we expected. We opened our first in Seattle in June, also exceeding our expectations. In the fall, we're opening our first in San Diego. So by the end of the year, San Diego, West Loop of Chicago, another one in New York, another one in Los Angeles and Santa Monica, which is pretty cool. We're excited about all of these. So we'll open 5 locations between now and I would say by January. And then we've got, this big pipeline behind it. So we're real excited about, growing now. And we got a lot of good stuff coming, both from a new location perspective, renovating existing locations, and how our offering is going to evolve.
How are you picking what new markets to enter? I know some of them already have soul cycles, for instance. So I guess you have some kind of data from that.
So we're pretty sophisticated. Our real estate team is very knowledgeable about all the markets where we've always wanted to go. And when I say the markets, it includes cities as well as, pretty much by zip code, if not by block, generally where we want to be. And we evaluate that and look at that, frequently. But that informs where we want to go next. And so we've been pretty thoughtful of how we've grown over time, and that's a big part of why our unit economics are so strong and why investors in the financial community loves what we do. But the world has changed in terms of where there's demand. So while there continues to be great demand in some of our existing markets, Manhattan, Southern California, San Francisco is still a little bit slower in recovery, but getting there. When I say San Francisco, it's in Northern California, kind of not just San Francisco proper, but we're doing some new stuff there. Well, then there's new markets where we didn't exist before, like I mentioned, Philadelphia or Seattle. But then there's also, the South. So we just recently announced our first location in Nashville. That'll open next year, which we're real excited about that market. South Florida, where we think that'll become our 3rd biggest market outside of New York and Los Angeles. And a lot of that's because of the migration of people, unfortunately, a lot of those from New York, but from other markets who now are living in South Florida, and there's great demand. So we're opening our first location in West Palm Beach next month. And what we do in our business is we have something called pre-sale. So we sell memberships in advance of opening. And the response has been absolutely outstanding. And I keep using these words, exceeding our expectation, outstanding, because it's all factually true. So in West Palm Beach, we started selling memberships in June. The worst time of the year could be selling memberships, but we did that because we were going to open in November. And we're going to open with a member count. The response has been so strong. We're going to open a member count that is higher than what we thought we would achieve in 4 years.
Wow.
And so it just demonstrates that there's other markets beyond where we operate today, where there's great demand for the uniqueness of the Equinox experience and offering. And we're super excited about that.
Do you think it's because, say Palm Beach, you talk about migration. Do you think it's because demographics have changed? Do you think people are just more aware of wellness or want that kind of luxury experience? What do you think are the factors here for something like Nashville to become a big market?
Yeah, great question. I think it's a combination of things. I think these markets are evolving rapidly. And there's greater desire for, I don't love the word wellness, but health and health. We could talk about that if you want, but it's a greater desire for health and wellness broadly. It's become a bigger priority during and coming out of COVID than ever before. And that's not just a Nashville phenomenon or South Florida. That's a global phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why, and then you think about the Equinox offering and the uniqueness and the authority the brand has around high performance living, which I'm happy to talk about. And it's just kind of a perfect storm. So if I go back to, I've been leading this company for 25 plus years. And if I go back to the early days, it was trying to convince people that we don't call Equinox gyms, we call them clubs, but it was trying to convince people that the gym world was not a fad world. People thought, particularly in the financial community, oh, this is not going to last. And now look at where we've gone. So now we've got momentum. There's great tailwinds around the consumer. The consumer desperately wants, now I will use the words, all things health and wellness, all in the spirit, starting at young ages, all in the spirit of trying to live a health that is full of vitality and energy, which is often defined as you've heard the buzzwords, health span, not just lifespan.
Yeah. So I want to get into that in a second because I know you guys have some new offerings. But first, I actually want to talk a little bit about the Equinox Hotel. And I say this because I remember going on a tour of it when it opened, and there was some talk of this may be a big part of the business. We may open more hotels. That doesn't seem to be the case now. Tell me about that part of the business and, I guess why you've sort of gone back to focusing on clubs.
To the contrary of what you're saying, we're actually focused on both. So we have a pipeline on the hotel side of around 10 to 12 new hotels. The difference is the gestation period for a hotel is much longer, particularly when you're building a new hotel as compared to a club. So it takes years. So our next hotel is opening in the Red Sea in Saudi Arabia in spring of 2026.
Why the Red Sea?
Because there was great demand for our brand, our hotel, our club, our entire offering. So we also have branded residential there, which is another part of our offering now. But there was a lot of interest in bringing us to a resort location. So it's a beautiful setting. It's some of the most magnificent water you've seen in the world. It's an undeveloped piece of real estate in Saudi Arabia. So in partnership with the government there and PIF, the Sovereign Wealth Fund, they have built out a big area, a marina. Us and some other hotels are going to be operating there. Ours is Foster designed, David Rockwell Interiors, and we're real excited about that. But that is the next hotel. We've already announced another hotel in Saudi Arabia. There's one unannounced that's coming. We haven't announced yet, but there's potentially one, if not two more in the region. And then we've also announced one in Nashville. There's one we're working on in the Caribbean. So we're super excited about the hotel. The hotel really shows a lot of things about the Equinox brand. One, the uniqueness of the offering. Two, our ability to anticipate the needs and wants of our community and our consumer ahead of when they want it. And then our ability to deliver a unique experience like nobody else can. So the hotel, super proud of what we accomplished. Our timing could not have been worse. We opened in summer of 19, closed it 6 months later, absolutely terrible timing, and then reopened 6 months and we never looked back. And so fast forward to where we're at today in the hotel, it's recognized as one of the best 50 hotels in the world. That's an independent recognition, not coming from us. There was only 2 in the US that made that list, one of us, so that feels pretty cool as the new kid on the block. And it's remarkable who stays at our hotel now. It's literally a who's who of Fortune 100 companies to people out of Hollywood, out of the music industry. Some of these names, are put out there on their own. So whether it be Mark Wahlberg or Jessica Alba or Kevin Hart, we don't ask them to. They're out there because they love being here. They're regular customers for us. But there's a lot of other people that stay with us that I won't mention because obviously we're looking to protect their privacy. But really excited about what we've done with the hotel and the uniqueness of the experience there and the future for the hotel. So both will be big parts of our business.
I got to ask about development in the Middle East. Do you have gyms there? Is it primarily a hotel market? I know Equinox has a location in London, but I guess I'm curious about why that region was so attractive and like demographically.
It's really fascinating. So it's fascinating what's going on there over the last 4 or 5 years, and it varies by obviously country and city. But there's so much interest in health and wellness, hospitality, living a healthy lifestyle, and the Equinox brand. So what's really fascinating to me, and I've spent a lot of time in the Mideast, particularly in certain countries, is when I go over there, I'm constantly introduced to people. Oh, I was a member when I lived in Boston. Oh, I was a member when I lived in Los Angeles. Oh, I was a member when I lived in New York. So the brand awareness is very high because a lot of the 30 and 40-year-olds in the Middle East have been educated here in the U.S. So, and they're educated in a lot of cities that, where we have, big portfolios of clubs. So there's always
is it often
been
transplants, or it's actually like people who are native to the region?
both. It's a combination of both. There's definitely a lot of expats. I mean, there's a lot of, particularly on the financial side, there's a lot of growth that's happened over, the Middle East, and you see it every day, you hear it every day, and so we're partners with some of the big players, obviously in the hotels that we're doing. Those hotels will have clubs, and often we'll have branded residential as part of that. So we're really bringing the entire Equinox lifestyle to life in the Middle East. And so we think that's a big frontier for us, and we're real excited. I'm not going to comment on whether, besides what the hotel clubs are coming, but you could read between the lines whether that might be coming in the future.
I got to say, and you're going to hate this question. I don't mean to be combative here, but
Okay.
I remember there was the whole debacle with Stephen Ross where he held this fundraiser for Trump, and there was tons of people, at least on social media, saying they were going to leave the club. And I would say I grew up in Saudi Arabia for a while, and not the greatest track record on human rights. Do you worry about that kind of soiling your brand, or how do you think about that?
So, fair question. And here's what I would say is when Stephen, did the fundraiser back in summer of 2019, I mean, we definitely, and this reflects on how people feel about our brand, we definitely got given a very hard time by our members, prospective members, what we call our alumni members. And it was a time when the cancel culture was a very big thing. And when we definitely took our hits during that. But what I would also say is that is because people are so emotionally attached to the Equinox brand.
That's why I have the follow-up question.
So if you, it's interesting. So we've got a list of all of corporate America that at that time was donating to Donald Trump or the Republican Party. It's a who's who of American household names.
Oh yeah, okay? It's everyone.
we don't donate to any party. We've always been, in effect, Switzerland, and believe we're an inclusive community. And I don't mean that just by race and gender, what have you. Everybody can have their political views. Everybody can have their religious views. That's the magic of Equinox, right? That it's such a diverse and inclusive community, both from our employee side and from our member side. But what struck me was because people love us, they expect more from us. And so this struck a chord. Yeah. CVS, where you buy your toothpaste, nobody cared. CVS was one of the biggest donors to Donald Trump at the time, but nobody cared. Nobody was canceling them or what have you. So higher bar, high expectation, but that comes with the territory. We've always been highly sensitive to, we're not political. We don't take religious points of view. And that's always how I've led the business and I've always operated the business. Stephen Ross, who is obviously a significant investor and a partner, made a personal decision to do something with, and which, I'm not going to defend, with, supporting Donald Trump. And it was really kind of from a business perspective more than anything, but that was, his decision.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate that it affected Equinox and SoulCycle at the time. And so as we move forward, we always continue to think the same way. We're not going to weigh in on politics. We're not going to weigh in on religion, but people are allowed to have their personal points of view. I personally think it's gone a little too far. It's okay to have different points of view, right? That's how America was built. It's okay. Just do it respectfully. And so it was an unfun time, but we're always sensitive who we partner with, always have been, always will be, who we partner with, big and small. And so when you talk about the Middle East, everybody is partnering with a lot of these countries, including Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And Saudi Arabia is transforming and substantial reform. And so when you look at that, I mean, we're not alone in deciding that it's okay to do business there, and we're super excited to be partnering and building hotels and clubs in Saudi Arabia and throughout the region. But we're always super sensitive to who we'll work with. It's always top of mind for us.
You mentioned the sort of, you mentioned Optimize, you mentioned GLP-1 program, there's Equinox Living. There's another chain in New York, Lifetime Fitness, that I think has grown a lot, that is, I think, operating in quite a similar space. And for a long time, I feel like Equinox, to me, was like the only one doing it. How do you think about that kind of newer competition? I know they were in other parts of the country before, sort of more middle of the country markets.
Look, I think at the end of the day, there's some similarities in the programming, but the offerings are very different. They are much more of a rural to suburban play, and we're much more of an urban play. We're much more, luxury, high touch, service oriented, and more, I would say, more boutique oriented versus, their approach. But there is some overlap programmatically. I think that at the end of the day, though, what I would say is if you want the Equinox experience, you're not going to get it at Lifetime. You're getting it at Equinox. And, they could say whatever they want to say. And I'm not sure what they say because I don't really pay attention, because ultimately we're building a global luxury lifestyle brand, playing with people that they and others really can't play with. So we more often than not lead a lot of this conversation. If they want to follow our lead on some aspects, that's up to them. That's flattering. I have a lot of respect for what they've been able to accomplish, but what we're doing is very unique and our community loves what we do. So I don't really view it as competition. I just view it as, someone else operating in the category. And I think there's plenty of room for us and others as well, both of us and others as well.
I want to touch quickly on two other Equinox Holdings properties. Equinox obviously growing tremendously, like massive plans. Blink filed for bankruptcy, got acquired. And I would just love to hear a little bit about that and how it fit into your portfolio. And then tell me a little bit about plans for SoulCycle.
So Blink, was just like our entire portfolio, was hit hard during COVID. Unfortunately, and still think it was a neat offering that had been doing well pre-COVID and had a great future. Unfortunately, due to the effects of COVID, the lenders there decided that they would prefer to get out and sell off the business, and it was their decision to sell it to a third party. In retrospect, a year plus later, they would acknowledge probably that it was a mistake because it was worth a lot more than what they did, but it was really something outside of our decision, and it's frustrating and unfortunate, but that's just the reality of when you have lenders and when you do things during COVID, some people understand and work with you, and most of our lenders and investors have been extremely supportive of us, as have been our landlords, and greatly appreciative of that. But in some cases, like in the Blink case, that wasn't the case. For SoulCycle also hit hard. Mm-hmm. SoulCycle has recovered well. We definitely have closed some soul locations, but big believers in the power of the Soul brand and the cult following. We still have the loyalists there, and Equinox is really phenomenal and something that super proud of. It's rare you build one great brand with that emotional attachment. People love to do that and can't do it, but when you have two, it's pretty remarkable. And so, really love what Soul has done historically, and big believers in what Soul will do in the future. But we got some work to do there.
The other thing I'm curious about is why you ditched Kiehl's for Grown Alchemist in the Equinox bathrooms, which I remember getting a press release about this and being like, okay, whatever. And then I felt like the internet went crazy.
Well,
when it was announced.
So I'm going to be too transparent. I'm going to get yelled at by my team afterwards, and I'm going to respond to this, okay? But I'm going to get a lot of trouble. So Kiehl's was a very successful relationship for a very long time. And Kiehl's also went through many leadership changes over that period of time. So just to get into our thinking a little bit, in 2008, there was something called the Great Recession. And
oh, I remember.
Right? and if you think about a business like ours, similar to COVID, you would say, not going to survive. And we believe, because of who we cater to, that the emotional attachment that I referred to a number of times today, but the emotional attachment, emotional connectivity, and the importance of what we do was actually more important during that period of time of stress. And it went from not a want, but a need. But at the same time, the financial community said, panic, what's going to happen? Are you going to be able to, you're going to lose a lot of members, all this kind of stuff. And what happened was the complete opposite. We had a record year in 2008 financially, and we had a flat year in 2009 to 2008, which was heroic performance on any chart, particularly in the consumer landscape, remarkable. Not just in gyms, just crazy. So 2 things came out of that was we said, instead of cutting like everybody else does, cut your maintenance staff, cut your front desk staff, cut headcount, we went the other way. We definitely tightened our belt, but we went the other way. We said, what else can we do for our members? And at the time, we had generic product in our locker rooms. And so we said, let's take a cue, which is how we've built our business, different than others. You mentioned one name, but we've taken our cues from hospitality or retail or fashion or luxury community over the years, not from the category.
Yeah.
And, we've always been a leader, not a follower like others do. But when we've done that, we said, okay, we think this is a great way to give back. And we did 2 things. This is in 2009. At the time, Kiehl's was a very hot brand. We put Kiehl's in our locker rooms, and we introduced eucalyptus towels.
I was going to ask, was that the same time you introduced the towels?
And it's interesting. It had nothing to do with the class or the personal training session or the service level, right? It was more about the lifestyle and the experience and the attention to detail and the touch points, which is so core to who we are and what we've done so well over the years. And so we introduced it, and our members who were smart said, are you guys crazy? Like, do you understand there's a recession going on? And this clearly is costing you more money. And we said, no, we love you.
Yeah.
And our business just took off.
Wow.
And so it was a great relationship for a long time, for, let's call it 15 years. But through all the changes of their leadership, which seemed to be very frequent, the product just was, in our mind, a little stale, and they weren't innovating around the product. And there were some things in the product which, in the world of getting clean, were not good ingredients. And they were reluctant to change it.
Interesting.
And so we said, this is not the right product for our members. And so despite what they've said in the market, we decided to end the relationship. Interestingly, I'm going to point out, and this is where I'm really getting in trouble, is that other brand that you mentioned that started with an L from Minnesota, they've picked up our sloppy seconds.
I know.
Okay?
I know.
That's fact. So no matter what you hear out there, that is fact. Okay? So nobody likes sloppy seconds. That's certainly not us.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we ended the relationship. We decided to go another direction. There's no doubt that other direction caused an uproar. Clean is tricky. And Grown Alchemist is clean, but it comes with issues. It doesn't suds as much. It doesn't do this, that, that. So anyway, make a long story short in this regard, I would just say stay tuned for more announcements in the not too distant future. And I have someone in the background of my office having a heart attack right now. But
were your customers asking for clean? Like, did that become sort of a really important part of the brand?
I think there was some of that, but it was also, we were looking to say, okay, what's the future here versus what's yesterday? And we felt that, Kiehl's was yesterday and we wanted something more progressive. And so we went in a direction. there's no doubt a lot of our members loved the direction we went, and other members were like, you know, as you saw on Reddit, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. You're cheapening out. It's actually more expensive, just so we're clear. It was not us cheapening out.
Yeah.
Right? It's a more expensive product. So, but, you know, we listen. And so we have some things coming in the not too distant future.
That makes a lot of sense. So, you know, I want to move on and talk a little bit about the Optimize program and a little bit about the health and, sorry to use this word, sort of wellness offerings and how they're changing. First off, why'd you hate the word wellness? Second, tell me a little bit about that as a business decision.
So, yeah, that's a wild transition. We're going from talking about Saudi Arabia, Middle East, and Donald Trump to now health and wellness
I'm
and
conscious
Optimize.
of time, and we got to cover so much.
So I'll tell you why I don't like the word wellness. It's like the word corporate synergy. It's the word luxury. What is it? What is wellness? So is it your insurance company? Because they talk wellness.
Yeah.
Is it your doctor? Because he or she talks wellness. Is it your fitness or your gym? Because they talk well. Everybody's using the word. The good news is if you use the word and you look at it as a kind of category, it's soon going to be a $10 trillion global category. So the opportunity is tremendous, and it's still very much mom and pop. And so there's no brand that's better positioned than Equinox with our authority, with our brand equity, to take advantage of what we refer to as high performance living. And at the core of high performance living, and if you listen to the true respected longevity gurus, they align with this philosophy. And so in many ways, I think we've written the narrative here. We talk about it from a science perspective. How do you live a high performance lifestyle? We talk about it MNRC. Movement, just working out, being active. N, nutrition. I prefer the word nourishment because nutrition is medicinal. Nourishment is eating well and eating, you know, in a way that gives you, energy and fuel for the body. R is recovery. Sleep's at the core of that, but there's other aspects to recovery at this point. And a lot of the biohacking comes into that, right? And then C is community. And so we've embraced that for years. And nobody's, particularly the narrative on all that, but nobody's written that narrative more so in the community than we have. And so when you think about all of that, we think there's nobody better positioned to take advantage of the opportunity around wellness. And so to advance that and take it where we think it's going to go is we introduced Optimize last year. And so I've been doing this for a long time this way, personally, which is data to inform your needs. That data comes in different ways, but at the core of what Optimize is through a partnership with Function Health and Mark Hyman, who you've probably heard of, one of the foremost experts in longevity from a nutrition perspective. That's his background. But when we thought about Optimize, we said, okay, who can we partner with to establish Yaz's biomarkers through blood? And based on those biomarkers, with all the privacy protection in mind, how do we use that information to inform a comprehensive, holistic program to focus on what we do well is help you with your vitality and energy? Mm-hmm. We're not doctors, even though the world is blurring and maybe that changes in the future.
Yeah.
But so we take those biomarkers and then you are assigned as part of the Optimize program, you're assigned a concierge who then quarterbacks your program with a team of specialists. Your personal trainer that we refer to as coach, your nutrition coach, your sleep coach. And then we rinse and repeat. We retest to see how the progress. It's very personalized. We announced it last, I think it was May. And we kind of like, it wasn't like we were trying to make some big press announcement. We were just trying to like acknowledge that we were doing this and we were starting. Well, the thing blew up and it went viral. I mean, it showed up everywhere. And, we clearly, in this regard, struck a chord in two ways. One, it was the power of the Equinox brand. People want us to innovate, want us to be the authority, want us to bring more, want to know how we're thinking. That was very clear. But also, the other buzzword, longevity. People at all ages, particularly younger ages, which is really remarkable, are thinking about how do they live actively healthier longer. And so literally overnight, not only do we get a crazy amount of media coverage, but at the same time, we wound up with a 1,000-person wait list, charging $40,000 a year.
Wow.
And you had people like Andrew Voss-Serkin going on Morning Joe, not us, I mean, I'm friends with Andrew, but defending the program, saying it's actually worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's pretty exciting when you think about things like that, you know, whether it be that or what we've done with GLP-1 or now what we're doing with Equinox Arc for women is, once again, the world wants, our community wants more from us, but they want innovative thinking and meeting them where their needs are. And we've always done a great job of anticipating our community's needs ahead of when they knew what they wanted.
I know you guys are doing stuff with GLP-1s, but I'm curious how it's changed the business. Have you seen different kinds of members? Do you see people doing different kinds of workouts? Like, what does that look like?
I don't think it's like had a dramatic effect on the business, but I definitely think the needs and wants of certain members have changed. So early on when GLP-1 exploded, you know, there was lots of press out there. Does this mean gyms are dead, or, you know,
Totally.
boutique studios are dead,
over.
or right?
Yeah.
Stacks, right? Or stacks over,
Yeah.
you know, all that stuff. And, you know, we believed at the time, and obviously time has validated this, that no, it goes actually the opposite way, because it's a way to supercharge your, you know, you kind of, if you don't have a medical issue, just if you have a, you know, kind of, you want to lose some weight or what have you to different degrees, it supercharges. So it basically kickstarts you. But what the world has learned through lots of science and research and, you know, the different experts is if you use that as a kickstart, but then complement it and move towards living a different lifestyle, meaning all the stuff's around MRC. Be active, strength train, eat well. If you do that, those are the people that are getting the greatest results from GLP-1. So we saw it, instead of as a negative, we saw it as an opportunity to create a special GLP-1 training program through what we call the Equinox Fitness Training Institute, which is our own proprietary training institute, working with our team of doctors. So we have something called a health advisory board, which is some of the foremost experts in science, academia, what have you, to help guide us and things like that. We created a training protocol specific for people who are on GLP-1. And then we certified a bunch of our coaches and how to use those protocols to help our members achieve their desired results. And so that's where it's changed.
Right.
We've got, you know, members who are going through the protocol, but it has not, I wouldn't say it's, and some of that means more strength training, which is a phenomenon, you know, right now, period, particularly with women, but not just men.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely part of the GLP-1 effect, is that people realize strength training is more important. Always has been important, but now people realize it's more important than ever before.
2 final questions, and they're both pretty fun, so don't worry. What are you most excited about in the coming year when it comes to Equinox? And what's your favorite class to take? Are you a class guy?
All right,
No.
So you just busted me.
You're like, I have a personal trainer.
Right, so I do. But so, yes, you caught me. So what I would say is, so I practice what I preach. You know, my personal routine is I've had the same coach for 20 years who's been amazing. His name is Hisham. He's been with us for a very long time, obviously. And I strength train with him 3 times a week. And then separately, I love to sprint. I probably sprint more than I should, but I sprint probably 4 times a week and do cardio like 6 times a week. But I'm also very focused on the other aspects of MRC. So I eat really clean. I believe that pizza is a separate food group because that is my kryptonite. That's my weakness. So
that actually makes me feel better because now you seem human.
Listen, I think I have done this long enough that I can say pizza and French fries are a separate food group with authority, right? I think, you know.
Yeah. You're a health and wellness expert.
No science behind
accurate.
it, but that's just, you know, a personal opinion. And then I'm a big believer in the sleep side. So I work, you know, really, and I do all the biomarker stuff that I mentioned early on to inform this, but I make sure I get my sleep regardless of what's happening. Sleep is really, really important to me. So the upshot of all that is I will sometimes take a class at like Soul Cycle during the summer or what have you, but generally I'm working with my coach.
You're on a schedule. You're not trying to deviate.
And then, it's hard to say like what I'm really excited about for next year for Equinox, like one thing. As you mentioned, we have a lot going on. I'm super excited about just what we're doing and where we're going. So I mentioned during COVID, we came up with this kind of very simple strategic framework of rebound the business, grow the business, and transform the business. And most of my time is in the growth category and the transform. But I'm super excited about what we're doing in terms of programmatically what we're doing. Our new design is really amazing. It's elevated. It's more differentiated than it's ever before. We're doing some cool things with different designers where so one of our most important clubs is a club in West Hollywood, which is a who's who goes through that club. And we've partnered with Daniel Arsham, the artist and sculpturist, to renovate that club top to bottom. Brand new. It'll be a brand new club. You've also
got Snarkitecture involved in some of them.
That's Daniel. That's Daniel.
That's Daniel.
Yeah. So we're doing some great things. I'm personally very passionate, involved in all things brand and design. And so our team's doing a phenomenal job. I couldn't be more proud of them and, down to the last employee we have. So super excited what's to come. And I feel like we're just warming up. So COVID was pretty shitty, but now we're really poised to win big, and not just domestically, globally. So it's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was great.
Thank you for having me.